host, Joe Budden. And if I'm not mistaken, our very, very, very special guest is here. Our man of the hour is here. Adam22 is here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, 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 and thank you for taking the time, Adam. How you doing?
Joe Budden, how you living?
I couldn't be better, man. Couldn't be better. Listen, I want to make, are you in a good spot of the house? I want to make sure your phone serves more people than I've had in here in quite some time. Adam, I'll be honest with you. I don't pay any of the no jumper shenanigans any mind because I always think it's all contrived. I always say to myself, it's all fake. These guys are just doing what they got to do for the algorithm over here. But it appears that I'm wrong this time. Could you give me a Cliff Note version of everything that's going on and everything that has gone on? Like, catch me up to date.
Okay, so, the simplest way I can think to explain it would just be to say that, we do the Tuesday show, and about 3 years ago, AD came on and started to really make an impact on the channel, started to get a real fan base on there and stuff, and that was kind of like the first time that we really had somebody on the channel who ended up kind of taking on a life of their own, where probably the first person we had who was really popular with the audience besides me. And so we started doing the podcast together on Tuesdays, and then that branched out into him doing a podcast on Wednesdays as well as appearing on the news and just doing all kinds of different stuff for us. And I had been thinking for a couple months.
Okay, so AD came in and was a star for the network.
Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, it was doing pretty well. And it was, very inspiring to us as a company who wanted to, build personalities because they didn't love him at first. And then within, a month or two, they loved him. And it was kind of, it was, a really good thing for us to see because we didn't know that we could necessarily get people to care about somebody besides me, right? And so we've been doing the show for, 3 years. And at a certain point over the past couple of months, I started to feel, and I was seeing it in the comments where people kind of felt like maybe me and him didn't necessarily have the same vibe, or that the rapport wasn't really improving or anything. So I started to slowly have this plan in my head.
Wait. Improving. Yep. The word improving, and it says that something was wrong or it needed to be improved upon. What went wrong between you and AD from your perspective?
I mean, it wasn't anything personal between us. It was just the fact that, I think my podcasting style has gone more towards wanting to talk about political stuff, wanting to have sort of.
Adam is the most professional, best motherfucker I ever heard deflect and dance around questions. Joe been in the media a lot. Adam covered a lot of his shit. He gonna bring it up on him, highlight why his foot on his neck like this. He a smart motherfucker, and he's setting him up just right. He don't even understand how he being set up. His character, your natural reactions that you saying and shit are being used against you, and you don't even understand. It's beautiful how Joe doing it. Just pay attention.
Intricate debates about stuff, whatever, and he's been very open about the fact that he typically is more just trying to have a good time and just trying to have fun, and a lot of times I would be trying to really push for people to watch movies or documentaries or whatever, and it kind of felt like I was just ramming my head into a wall because we just clearly weren't really on the same page anymore, right? So I decided that I was going to have the conversation with him where I told him, I want you to stay on Wednesdays and keep doing, he had a food show with this dude, Duno, who also was on the channel. And I basically said, I want to have you keep doing that stuff, but then I want to put somebody else on Tuesdays, right? Which, I thought was a reasonable compromise. What was that?
You said that to AD?
Yeah, so I said it to AD, and then the next day I hit up Lush, who was one of the other dudes who was on the podcast, and I told him about it. And, Lush basically had developed a relationship with a lot of people in the Reddit and the Discord and stuff. And I guess he was in some Discord call, and he basically just ended up telling a bunch of fans what was going to happen before anybody knew about it besides me and AD. And so then AD ends up getting hit up by one of these people from the Discord who basically told him that they all knew, and like it felt like AD was reading my text to Lush. Now I think Lush was just actually like quoting my text verbatim to AD or to people in his chat, and then it got back to AD. And so that took a situation that I thought was going to be able to be somewhat smooth in terms of like, you know, taking AD off one of the podcasts, but leaving him on the other and letting him continue to, you know, do stuff on the channel and everything. He ended up feeling pretty big.
Then what's the issue that Lush told the Discord if he already knew?
Well,
What did you say to Lush that was foul about AD?
okay, so the one thing that was...
Hold up.
What?
That's the guy who was there for you during the pandemic and helping that work get to where it is today. You gave him another show, the breakout star.
Right.
Like, how different was the message?
It wasn't that different. That's the thing. It was like maybe slightly more harsh than what I had said to AD, but the one thing that I think... the thing that stuck out to AD was a little cruel.
Adam, listen, you can talk to me about this, right? Because I have fired people.
I know.
In firing people, well, that's why some of this is pretty funny to me, because when I went through my shit, man, did you cover it for the next 2 years. Boy, did you put a mic in front of anybody who had something to say about this.
How the saying go? The shoe's on the other foot. The table turned. The rabbit got the gun. However you want to state it. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? You cover this shit, now he covering your shit.
But, and when all that was happening, there was times I spoke to Rory about Maul and Maul about Rory.
Right.
So I'm trying to see, you must have said something really flagrant.
Well, because after this came up, I sent AD my entire conversation with Lush so that he could see every single thing I had ever said to him. And I think the one thing that he was annoyed by, that he felt was disrespectful, is I said something about AD not being on the show meant that I wouldn't have to listen to the same 4 jokes over and over.
So you felt like, so did you feel like they weren't, or like AD wasn't improving, or he was taking the Tuesday show for granted, or did you really just want to go in a different direction? Because those are 2 different things.
You know, I don't want to say he wasn't improving because, okay, all at the same time as this is going on, AD for like the last year or 2, as well as T-Rel, who was on the show for like the last few weeks before this and who's been on the Wednesday show forever, they started their own platforms, right? Like their own YouTube channels, community, and back on Fig, right?
Not Science and No Jumper, or not Do No Jumper. Why?
Because I think like I didn't know that anybody who was on the No Jumper platform, like I hadn't anticipated that I would need to have people in contracts making them exclusive or whatever. In fact, I encouraged AD to start streaming in the first place, and you know, I kind of thought that he was going to do more like gaming stuff, or you know, I think I used academics as an example when he first was going to start streaming. I'm like, you should just talk about like.
Has he answered one question yet? Just keep track.
Hip-hop shit, you know, from your perspective. And I didn't really expect that would end up kind of, you know, like I'm really proud of them. I just want to make that clear. Like these guys, the fact that they were able to build their own platform off of it is like amazing to me. And like, I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of the fact that we had any involvement in it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really anticipate all this shit that would happen in terms of us kind of feeling like we were competing. And I heard App and AD talking yesterday. And AD even said that when they announced their live shows, because they have some upcoming live shows, and it's like literally in the same venue as the No Jumper live show that we did around a year ago. And AD even admitted that like when they announced those live shows, that he kind of expected that at some point this was going to become an issue, just because for us as a business to have them kind of doing like all the same things that we're doing, I think that there was probably a shelf life on that.
That doesn't make sense.
Not at all. He just talked in a bigger circle than a racetrack.
Because if you're a network and you bring people on and attempt to develop them, then there shouldn't be a ceiling on that development. Like, You're in content and they're in content, so
Well, it would have been the same thing, Joe.
wait, naturally the people that are gonna come behind are gonna follow a blueprint. So why wouldn't they be doing shows? Why wouldn't some of those venues be the same?
Not making
No,
sense.
totally, but I mean, at a certain
You
point.
talk about totally, but you just said the opposite.
Definitely, but you know, it's like
It's not definitely.
when
When
they're doing all the same stuff, but we're not participating on a business level. And you know, AD admitted this, which I thought was
Wait.
I think when people be pathological liars, they don't even realize the shit they say. He just said, we don't want him doing exactly the same shit I'm doing. He got cut off and said, well, if you sign somebody, of course they want to follow the blueprint and do exactly you doing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. How the fuck is exactly and definitely when you the one saying it ain't? Do we even understand what's going on here? People can't even remember what they said last sentence.
How is this dynamic?
Adam, but you never wanted to participate on a business level, or else their platforms wouldn't be separate from yours.
No, and I realize that now because even just listening to T-Rail talk about it, I just kind of realized that, you know, I thought that I was going to put them on this Wednesday show and that was going to be enough for them. And I didn't realize how much more ambition they actually had. And, you know, now, like, pretty quickly they were doing, you know, 3 nights a week. All of them were, like, streaming on their own platforms and stuff. So, you know, it just kind of got to the point where it felt like the focus on their channels not only, like, made more sense for them, but also probably made more sense for No Jumper as well. Unfortunately, it went down in this fucking crazy way where AD ended up feeling kind of betrayed because he had to find out about this Discord call with Lush, whatever. I wanted to be able to, if we were going to separate, I wanted to try to be able to do it in like the most respectful and chill, calm way possible. And instead, of course, the most dramatic podcast in the world has the most dramatic breakup in the world.
Adam, I know this is your white privilege.
No self-accountability. You keep trying to blame Lush. Motherfucker, who sent Lush the message? I get it. If you let mad at Lush for telling, so you can tell Lush, hey man, somebody tell them some shit you told them, you can tell them, damn, I know not to tell you nothing. Now everybody know, but however, you won't find no time to be mad at yourself for telling the motherfucker that told everybody? Self-accountability. There's none.
Jumping out, but you can't control their progress and control the detachment. You can't control the separation and control their progress. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I would have probably tried to, like, you know, incubate those brands through No Jumper, and, you know, maybe we get a percentage of it, and we like deliberately go out of our way to help them grow everything. I also don't know if that ever would have actually worked, you know, because they're very, very, like, T-Rail and AD in particular, they're like mega independent minded. You know, it's like it probably would have been a pretty serious challenge for them to have like grown these brands while kind of like operating under the No Jumper umbrella. Like honestly, I don't know how well that would work.
Well, don't speak for them now. That seems to be a challenge that they were more than up for.
To do it under No Jumper?
To be with No Jump, yeah. I've listened to every interview these guys have done this week, and they all, even in separation, speak like they had no problem being ambitious at No Jumper, and their views of where the network was headed and your views of where the network was headed is just two different places. Can you speak to me about that? Can you speak to me about the pivot that you want to make with your content? You said you want to be more political now?
No, not like specifically. It's just that in terms of the Tuesday shows specifically, you know, I didn't feel like we had the best connection going at a certain point. And AD will tell you that when I had that conversation with him about replacing him on the Tuesday show, the first thing I said was, I think that this will be better for our friendship and our business relationship in the long run.
Adam, now that it's been a few months, do you have a better understanding on the point that myself and my co-hosts were trying to make to you when you were on our podcast? One of those points being about how white privilege allows for white people to come inside of hip-hop culture, use it and milk it for every single penny they can, and at the drop of a dime, change direction and act like they want nothing to do with any of that nigga bullshit.
Okay, but Joe, this is a fake narrative because I interviewed 4 rappers yesterday. I interviewed like 12 rappers last week. YouTubers and porn stars and commentators on whatever. I mean, that's just, I've always been dipping and dabbling in all kinds of different subcultures.
Yes, different subcultures like YouTubers, SoundClouders, porn, right? But how could you expect, I guess what I'm asking, how could you expect to not have any problems at your network, which is hip hop based for the most part, would you say? Or at least the people you surrounded yourself with are hip hop based. And then you start and then Richard Spencer. Can you talk to me of the decision to bring Richard Spencer on your show, on your Tuesday show, with no black people present?
It wasn't on the Tuesday show, but it was, I arranged
it wasn't Tuesday, so that make it right?
Destiny, who's like a very popular left-wing commentator, and Richard Spencer. And, you know, I really didn't think, like, in terms of the other hosts, I didn't think this would be an issue primarily because of the fact that, I mean, AD had been the one who wanted to have us interview Nick Fuentes, or we did like a debate, I guess, quote unquote, at a certain point a couple months ago. But I guess he felt different about the Richard Spencer thing or whatever. And the other criticism I saw from Van Lathan was just that the debate was a little bit too much of a debate, that we didn't really take time to dig into the creation of the alt-right and racist statements that Richard Spencer's made in the past and everything, because his narrative that he's pushing now is that he's a changed man and he doesn't, you know, harbor ill will towards whoever. And I mean, in the context of a debate, I didn't think it would be that controversial for us to platform them.
So, Adam, I admire the business that you built, and I don't think...
Nah, dog, they just told you that you get rich off of instigating black gangbangers in Chicago to kill each other. And all you do is bring up, oh, such and such shot such and such, and he dissed his mom, and I don't want to this and that. Now you get a racist motherfucker on there, you don't want to bring up nothing negative from his past. What type of shit is this? Yeah, I see why you canceled. When you should have been canceled, this motherfucker, man. He a whole cancer to the whole fucking more than just hip hop. And you like this nigga. Yeah, white people don't even like you. We seen the picture of the little girl. Like, you a whole molester, dude. Fuck out of here.
Any idiot could do it. Would you say that you handled that? One of the criticisms were that you handled Richard Spencer with kid gloves.
I definitely think the thing I should have done is I should have pulled back at a certain point and I should have tried to really zero in on any kind of negative statements about black people or anything racist in general. Because it seemed like we focus more on the like liberal conservative binary and less on the, you know, the perception of him or the reality of him having, you know, inspired a lot of hate over the years.
So yes, you acknowledge that one of those criticisms are that you handled him with kid gloves.
Yeah, I mean, it probably should have been more of an interview. It probably should have spent more time on, let's go over some of the major things that you've been associated with that are kind of...
He don't have no morals or principles. He like a yes man he like a robot. Oh, what do I think people want to hear? My fans. Oh, what do I think the fans want to hear? The people. He's so programmed to try to play a role that we see through you. It's like being a man. You ever been with a woman and you have to play a role because you think, oh, she wants this type of man. Men do that. So when you're used to playing roles, you can spot when people play roles because you see it. So he don't know how to, like, when it's time to be yourself, you stuck in that role. It's kind of disgusting because it's like, it's real fucked up. The shit people do for a fucking dollar, man.
Ugly, or very ugly. And, yeah, I definitely failed to a certain extent by not spending more time on that, given my audience and how a lot of people in my audience probably would have wanted to hear more about all that.
And by kid gloves, I mean you handled him with a certain care. That's what I'm attempting to say. on my podcast, one of my criticisms of you was as a white man occupying space in the hip hop space, that you should probably handle more of these rappers and black people with care as you report on them. You don't see that parallel?
No, I see it for sure, but it's also like when I'm interviewing a rapper, it feels more.
Do you not see how it would look a way that you handle a known Nazi with more care than you do some of our greatest entertainers?
Well, number one, I kind of resent the idea that I'm like so insanely hard on most rappers, because I interview rappers all the time where I have voice.
Can't answer a motherfucking question. Nobody said I'm so. Nobody. See, that's the deflection bullshit. I'm so insanely hard on rappers. Nobody said that. That's that bullshit, that victim role bullshit. Oh, I'm gonna play a victim because y'all saying that I said I'm so insanely hard on rappers. Nobody said that. He hit you with facts. You trying to deflect the facts and turn yourself to a victim. That's some female bullshit. You're a fucking female.
Huge chunks of controversial shit that I could be asking them just out of respect, because I know they talked about on other platforms, etc. My only thing I could say to defend the tone of the Richard Spencer debate was that he didn't say anything racist during the debate necessarily, or at least I didn't really pick up on anything.
That's awesome.
Huh?
That's awesome.
Right.
Because that would have made it, in the context of a debate, it just didn't really feel like I should have gone through the greatest hits of like, these are the most messed up things you've ever done or whatever.
But you do that to black
I wish I
rappers
had,
all
because it
fucking
definitely
time.
would have helped to cushion some of the criticism we got from doing that interview. But also, like, from my perspective,
Young black
doing
rappers.
content, like, I want to push at the edges of what's considered acceptable. And Richard Spencer is somebody who's basically been blacklisted from the media for the last, like, 6 years or so. And the idea that I was going to get to put somebody who I consider probably one of the best minds on the left on camera with this guy, I mean, that was just, to me, that was like an incredible opportunity. And I tried to pay Van Lathan to be on the podcast with me. I tried to call out a few different people, but generally speaking, nobody was really feeling it.
Can anyone at your network express their displeasure with that decision? And can you tell me?
AD said something about it on his show, yeah.
What did you say?
Just that he was disappointed in the tone of it, basically.
Okay, so I want to get back to Lush 1, because that was the first clip that I saw. Thank you guys on YouTube Live, wherever you were. I saw you ask him to leave, and depending on how you feel, maybe y'all will work it out later. Do you take accountability in
No.
Lush sharing your personal messages with people, or do you still put the majority of that on the fact that he shared those messages?
I mean, just like you said before, like if there's a Joe Budden problem, and this is one of the things I said to him right away, but you think?
The question was a yes or no question. Do you take accountability? He could have said, been real and said, no, I just like pointing the finger. Or he could have said, yes, I shouldn't have told Lush. And then Lush shouldn't have told him, so it's my fault for telling Lush. But what do he do? Go off into, he answering some shit nobody asked. The typical sign of pathological liars. Like, focus on subject.
When the Joe Budden podcast broke up, you don't think that Joe and Parks had conversations about what was going to happen, quote unquote, behind Rory Maul's back? I don't really feel like that was like as deceptive as it's being framed. I was just talking to somebody who I thought I had a close friendship with, who I thought had my back in terms of all this. And he not only lied to my face when I confronted him about it, but then he also, did it in the first place. Like, you're sharing like insider shit with random fucking people that you don't even know on a voice chat room. I mean, this is crazy.
I understand that, and from that, your decision was to fire him on air.
I didn't fire him on air. I just told him to get out of the building on air.
And he never came back.
It sounded like
and he
you
got
get out
fired.
and don't come back unless I change my mind, but I won't change my mind type of thing.
That might be fair.
Yeah, that's how it sounded. All right, so what is the chain of events from there? You fired Lush. Is that the first person to leave the company?
Yeah, actually, because, well, I mean, yeah, basically, yeah. And then the AD conversation, I think, took place like the next day. In terms of him formally saying that he was going to do his own thing and all that.
Okay, so one staffer leaving you can deal with. So you can deal with the exit of Lush. Then AD comes and says, dog, I'm off it, I can't fuck with it no more. So that's 2 gone, right?
Yeah, and like him and T-Rail and Duno were all like kind of a package deal, and I always kind of do that.
That's 1, 2, 3, so now that's 4 people gone, all in the drop of 9. Did you
There's one more too. There's this other dude, Smack, that T-Rail does his show with. And I mean, these guys were all kind of a package deal. So, I mean, it was, yeah.
Okay. And all right, so now that's 5. So who else left?
Well, you gotta rewind it to like a month or 2 ago when Housebone and this other dude, Blasey, that he was doing a show with, they left as well.
Nah.
Why did Housebone and Blasey leave?
Well, there's part of me that doesn't want to drag up the whole thing, but basically I interviewed a woman and she basically took that interview as an opportunity to expose Housebone, and then Oh, wait a minute!
Yeah, get
Oh,
him.
Adam, you've been talking for a second. I forgot all about that. Wait, right? The transgender woman, and she outed your man.
Yeah.
And you allowed that to happen on camera.
Well, full disclosure, I instructed the editors to edit it out, and one of the mentions of his name still made it in, and that was kind of the end of us doing anything on camera.
Well, you know how many times I ask Parks or somebody to edit something out, and they leave it in, and the fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Wait, Adam.
This is a crazy
you
subject, because I'm probably a hypocrite on this subject. Like, if one of your boys is like fucking with gay people, or you find out he gay, then it's kind of like, I don't really want to be your boy no more. So if I expose you, it's different. So for Adam to try to play a role like he's still my friend and I didn't want to expose him, that's the weirdest fucking shit in the world. Do you understand how see-through you are? The dude, if he's gay, or he fucked with gay people, whatever, if you saying that that's still your man, and like, that's not a reason for you to not want to be cool with him, then how the fuck is you exposing him? Do you even get how your brain don't make sense? What's wrong with this guy?
I don't hear enough accountability from you in this. You can't have a transgender come on your show and out your man.
Well, I mean, I tried to edit it out, right? The editor fucked up. But yeah, I mean, I do take accountability.
We supposed to believe that from you?
You know, this is the kind of thing that happens all the time.
The guy who care about views tries to edit the most important part out.
At least half of the
The most
podcast,
viewable part.
I'll say to the editor at the end, I'll say, hey, delete this one thing. Delete this awkward question. Delete this one thing that didn't sound right to me. And they always do it. And somehow this one was not so simple.
Right, it wasn't so simple.
Okay, you're just talking about the edit getting out, and I'm talking about
The whole interview.
just this being able to be recorded.
The whole interview, you fucking idiot.
Well, for the record, I didn't know that there was any kind of
drag
history
queen.
between them when I agreed to
Expose my man on my
You didn't
show.
know she was going to come on and do that.
No, and I mean, now people try to say like that I knew because
your
there was,
character
like, a
shows
comment
that
she had
fits
left
you.
saying something about him on my Instagram, and I actually asked him right away afterwards,
Did I
and
leave
he
out a
just
part?
said, nah, like,
The bitch that Adam was married to, the house call nigga, guess who fucked her? Oh, yeah, him. Did I say that? I don't know if I said that. But before he get exposed for this, you just happen to find out he fucked your wife. So now all of a sudden, oops, I just accidentally exposed you. I told him to edit it out. See how see-through it is? More jealous shit. You just said AD was shining first. Besides me, they couldn't find nobody else people would like. Now they like him. Well, maybe Tuesday. Well, maybe it's this. Like, you came with all these dumbass excuses. You really want to get rid of them because it's called jealousy. You want people to only like you. And unfortunately, you have no personality. You're a robot. You're fake. You got to be real for people to like you. Stupid fuck.
that she's lying. So I didn't, going into the interview, I didn't think that there was any truth to it, you know?
Adam, what do you say to your coworkers that say you have been power tripping for quite some time? I've seen a few of them say that. One of them went as far as to say that one time you said yo, I kind of feel like canceling all of these shows.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this, Adam, and why you think that was okay to say.
Well, is that power tripping, or is that, if anything, by canceling all the shows, that would probably be like giving up power, right?
No.
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 Who
I
the fuck you think
the
you're
thing that
talking
made
to,
me,
man?
the thing that made me suggest
I kind of want to do some
canceling all
of
the
these
shows.
interviews because I will be like cussing these motherfuckers out. Like, man, who the fuck you think you're talking to, dog? You just said, I'm not on a power trip. I could cancel everything. That's like a motherfucker saying, I own this house. You can get the fuck out. You're on a power trip. Well, if I kick you out, then won't I be lonely? Like, how the fuck you sound?
Those all together, which, for the record, I said that during the house phone scandal, was just kind of like the realization that I was slowly starting to have at that point, which I think you might be able to relate to as well, that the whole network idea is a lot to bite off. The idea that you're just going to have all these different people doing podcasts on a network and that you're going to be able to build a business around it. I had a lot more faith in that idea a couple of years ago than I probably do now.
So then what is your future view on your network and how will you go about running it then, if you feel differently today?
Well, I mean, I'm talking right now to the guy who inspired me to do a podcast where I just talk
When
to
in doubt,
homies
suck
every
dick
week.
of the interviewer.
I feel like I also kind of look at what you've been through, and I think a similar conclusion. I thought you were tripping when I first heard you say, like, that you didn't want to do a network anymore, or that you know, having a bunch of sort of, you know, not random, but kind of random shows on your network that you weren't necessarily super involved with, that you didn't necessarily see that being the future of the business you were running. I think in large part it's just an issue of size. Like, I think I would rather run a smaller media company that produces less content and is a little bit more focused than what like the last year or two of my life kind of turned into, where it was just like a lot of headaches, a lot of drama. You know, we started to become like fodder for everybody in the fucking podcast community to talk about because there was so much shit playing out on camera. And I don't know, it's like I kind of feel like now I would rather just have like a small crew of people that I could talk to and that work exclusively for